What's up, guys? Hope you guys had a good day. It's a little bit warmer today than it has been the last couple of days. Anyone watching soccer today? There were some good games on. Chelsea and Liverpool. Pulisic with two very good goals, or created one, scored another. What's up, Paul? How we doing? Oscar and Andy, welcome. That was a super exciting game. I thought Chelsea was going to come back and tie it up. Jordan, how we doing? But unfortunately, I guess it depends on who you are. It depends on who you're going for, but Liverpool came through and won. What's up, Seb? How's it going? Hope you guys have a chance to watch a little bit of the MLS. It's been entertaining for sure. And so, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to having a special guest speaker, somebody that's playing right now out there in the next couple weeks, just trying to figure that piece out. Let me 1 sec. Ben's having trouble get on here. And I'm back. Okay. Hey, Lisa. Autumn, how we doing? There we go. Ben's on. Excellent. It's connecting. There it is.
Hello, hello.
Ben, how we doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. That looks like it might be your dad's shirt. Is that true?
No way. It's actually Jake's.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
We
Nice.
were, the NorCal convention. We were helping out over there, and we got some T-shirts. Of course, Jake took the medium, and the other one was an extra large. So.
Oh, I was hoping it's extra small because he's the good in that. How was golf?
It was good. Yeah, we played up at Emerald Hills, a little par 3 course just for fun, and
Any pars?
a few. But a lot of bad shots too. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yes,
We've got a golf game coming up, so
we do.
I'm excited. I'm practicing for that.
I'm looking forward to that. Cool. So let's get started. So real quick, background. I'll start, then you can get into it. I know Ben. I've probably known Ben, I don't know, like 8 years, 9 years. I was coaching a Force 97 team, and me and his dad, Brett, we coached the top 2 teams together. And 1 sec. Let me, Ethan, welcome. I'm turning off the comments just so we can stay focused. Yeah, I know. Me and Brett coached the top 2 teams at the Force 97 age group. That was probably got to been I was thinking probably 9th and 10th grade for you guys. Maybe 10th, 11th, because you guys weren't driving to start, but then probably were eventually.
Yeah. We were just about to start high school. I think we were, like 13, 14.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a big carpool going from Menlo Park to San Jose or wherever the practice was. So
Dream machine.
Dream machine. Yeah. Like everyone passed out in the car, on the way over, and right after school we'd leave, try to get out of class a minute early or something like that, and we'd come over. But it was well worth it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask actually, because that's the only question we've asked yet is you were somebody that you live 30 minutes away from where you train, probably 20 miles. It could have been 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it was a good decision? Maybe for parents or players that are thinking about joining a club where there's a commitment as far as the commute. What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't have had it any other way. Palo Alto was great. That's where we had been before. We had merged from a team that was originally with the Strikers. But we joined a lot of top teams so that we could get into, to higher levels and get really competitive. The drive, there were certain times because traffic just got worse and worse over the years where we couldn't even get onto the freeway. I know there's a few guys, some who may be watching out. We'd go and we'd drive over and, whether it was Kyle or Quinn or those guys, and we wouldn't get to the freeway because it'd take, an hour to get there. We'd say, can't do it. We'd run our own session next door. But that being said, I think the move to go to Force to be coached by you and then I guess co-coached with my dad, that was huge for my development, both as a soccer player and personally. So, I learned so much more detail from the game because of that. So I think it's totally worth it if you're in a good situation.
So if you can find a good home and it's a little bit outside, maybe, further away, go for it basically. As long as it's you think it's a good fit.
Yeah. And I'd say it's all about the coach, who you can trust. I know there's been a lot of people. So my brother stayed with the local club here, Alpine, and His team did great. He had 12 or 13 guys go play in college. And, the coaches were able to develop them really well. And, maybe that would have happened, maybe not. But it was really important for them to stay together, and they did it a different way. So, we stuck together with a lot of people, but then there were a lot of times, where, certain friends here or there get split up on different teams. And I don't know, I think it was all worth it in the end, though, because I think with Force, not just their style of play, but the way you approach trainings, the way the details you included, things like that, it was huge for my development personally. So, yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I appreciate it. That's definitely something I'm definitely considerate of when I was coaching, is like realizing, one, it's a major time commitment. And then financial commitment, it's everything. So like you want to, as a coach, do as good a job as you possibly can to make sure it's worth it. And I think in general, if you're doing a good job, you're no question, it's worth the experience beyond just like the soccer piece. But yeah, that's a good point. Let's go in now to your like background. So for those in here, I co-coached Ben with his dad, Brett, who coached college. So where did you guys move around to when you were a kid? I assume you lived in different areas.
Yeah, I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. Right, they call it the staple of the map because it's literally the staple you put the page in on a full page, like in a book.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose the city because it's right in the middle. And so I lived there for about 3 years with when he was coaching at Creighton. My parents met there through Creighton. My mom had played basketball in the past. She was an alum and did a little coaching. She was in nursing school, and then they met there. My brother had just been born. He's 2.5 years younger than me in Omaha, and then we moved out to Stanford, Palo Alto, and yeah, we've been here ever since we rented a place. Then finally got a place we liked, and yeah, it was great.
Very cool. Something happened with your screen. Do
I
you
know.
see this? Okay, no, you're good. All
Go
good.
back.
That was weird. I've never seen that before. Okay. So okay, he coached for Creighton, and then you came out here because he started coaching for Stanford. What was that like? Like, obviously, soccer is a big part of your life. Your dad's a coach. That's something that like a lot of people think of, right? Their dad's like a professional or a coach. Like, what is it like to have a dad who's like the head coach of one of the most prestigious universities in the country? Do you realize that, or did you just kind of like just that was your upbringing?
They always made it so my dad had always put a big premium on creating a positive culture and a family atmosphere. So really, ever since I was born, we'd have players, coaches that would be my babysitters, right? So I felt like I was as much of a part of it as he was, and I think that was huge for me growing up, and I know my brother as well. So for those years, and getting our friends around the team, going to games, it just became second nature. I'd spend a lot of time in his office with him, whether it was playing with the little soccer board or going out on the field with them in practice and watching. So as you grow older, you kind of get more aware of that, and I think it's funny because it comes externally. It's like it's almost a mental thing where you say like people set it up to be this like pressure thing, but in the end of the day, it's really like my love for soccer and my thing. Yes, it grew out of that, but he let me take that on myself. And I think in some cases, I think, and I think if there's any parents or coaches watching, it's one of the biggest things. You can know everything about soccer, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if your kid or the kid you're coaching doesn't love it themselves and really have that genuine interest in any sport and anything you're doing, it really it doesn't. It's going to end eventually. And I think when people have like a great experience, it's because they own it and there's people that help them. So like, in games, after games, my dad would coach a lot of the teams, right? And so after games, he would never like tell me, what I did right or wrong. He would always wait for me to ask him. So we'd have these 2 hour drives back and forth, but he wouldn't say a word. He
Silence.
wouldn't say. It takes a lot. I know, like coaches get into it, parents get into it, and it's a very passionate thing. They spend a lot of time, a lot of energy to make sure their kid has a good experience. And but when he's at the games, when he's watching, at least when he's not actively involved, he's always very quiet. He's never yelling. He's never doing things like that. He's never behind any goal, yelling at a player. So I'm really glad I had that experience because it let me own my experience. and not just be, the coach's son, but rather be, my own self, my own player, my own person.
Okay, let me just get this straight. When he was coaching you, that when he was coaching your team, you guys had like 2 hour drives home, and he wouldn't bring up anything about the game.
He would wait for me because
Okay, how
I'd
about
always want to, because I
yeah,
mean, I know it's like, oh, he's got all these answers, he's got all these ideas. Sometimes, we play terrible. It's like first hour is just listen to some music, talk about
yeah,
anything else. But we'd always have, some other people in the car too, and they'd ask like, how did I do? Whatever. But yeah, and I think he does have all the ideas in his head, and he knows he could at any point. It's just, I think it's big for me to know that like he wants me to do well, not me to do well for him. It's a hard thing to do when you're owning that much of someone's progress, when you're getting them to games and practices, you're paying for their team. Like there's so many structural things that parents and coaches provide. So it takes a lot, but I'm really glad it turned out that way.
that is amazing. By the way, like just again to reiterate for the parents who are listening, Ben's dad was coaching him in club, and he's also, by the way, was a head coach of Creighton, one of the best men's teams in the U.S. Stanford men's team, one of the best college, one of the best programs around, obviously. And yet he would not give you advice on the way home. And yet, like the dad, who's like the lawyer or the business parent, is like, "You gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do that." It's like, what? Like it just, I think it just flips a lot of people's ideas on their head, and I think that's one of the things that like really has driven me towards like your family, your dad, you. 'Cause obviously, I have the close relationship with you too, but like just they do things differently than other people, and it makes a lot of sense. So I commend him for that, and I think a lot of parents could learn a lot from that.
It's
Wow,
not
that's
always
crazy.
perfect though. I'll tell you, it's not always perfect. And when it comes to him coaching, you both get into games, and he's really competitive too. So I got a lot of my competitiveness in games, and in good and bad ways, from him. So when he's coaching, sometimes it's a different story, but it's all well-meaning, right?
Yeah, but he's coaching. But after the game, he's the dad figure, right? He'll help you if you need help. He's not going to just tell you what you did wrong or tell you what you did right.
That's right.
He let you.
Make
I
me
like
own it.
exactly. I love that
Yeah.
the fact that like he lets you own it. Okay. How do you decide to go to Occidental? What was that process like?
Again, a lot of props to my dad. We went on a lot of different, college searches. We did a SoCal trip. We drove down there. He went up to Washington with me. We went to a lot of NESCAC schools on the East Coast. Um, I had really wanted a small Division III, probably liberal arts school at the time, but I didn't. When you're this young, when you're young, I was, early in high school. We were starting to look. Sophomore year is probably when we started. Just getting curious about things. You don't really, at least for me, I didn't know what all this stuff really meant. I just know, oh, well, certain people like that, certain people like that. And I got to test out a lot of different places. Stanford's got 8,000 people, but it's a huge university. It's in your backyard. So I knew from, hearing about that experience, I had a lot of friends who were fortunate enough to go there or around the Bay Area. I wanted to get away a little further to be a little more independent. But then again, I wasn't always, I didn't want to run away at the same time and leave. I know my parents love to watch my games and support, and they've been a big part of my progress. So I ended up going to Occidental the first time I visited. So anybody who's looking at colleges, the first time I visited, I hated it. Believe it or not, I went to the campus, and it was a Saturday morning. All the students were asleep. There was like an alumni event for like older alumni in the area, and it was a beautiful campus and everything. But I was like, it's there's no one here. It's dead. And so yeah, we went the first time. So we took the tour, and there was a guy who was incredible. Who like is in 50,000 different clubs and activities and all this stuff. I was a little like intimidated. I was like, is this the right school for me? Like, I'm a really sporty person. I like to do this or that. Um, but in the end of the day, it really changed the way I view things a lot. And the second time I visited, I got to meet a few members of the team, the coach. I got a little bit into the majors. We were down there for, I think it was one of our tournaments. Surf Cup or something,
Yeah.
and we were driving up from San Diego. And so we went a second time, said, why not? And yeah, so we went, and I liked it more. And then I did an official visit soon thereafter. And I think at that time it was close to, I think it was the spring of my senior year. And I had Ethan Glass, a great, he ended up being my mentor the next year. He let me stay there in his room, and the entire program and all the people they were always wanting to be around you, and they wanted you to have a good experience. And so when I'm visiting schools, that was one of the last schools I visited. I remember Rod was able to drive me home or drive me to the airport.
That's the coach.
Our head coach. And so it just, the level of care that he had, that the team had towards recruits and towards people that they wanted to welcome into their family was huge. And at the time, Rod didn't know much about me. I didn't have much in terms of like a scouting video, or I didn't, we had a good team, but we weren't in academy levels. I was playing basketball too. And so it was kind of all up in there. He said, yeah, we'd love to have you. And really thankful for that, because it treated me like everyone else should, I believe, is like a walk-on from the beginning. You have to earn everything that you get. So I think that the decision was largely on soccer, but I was a diplomacy and world affairs major and Spanish minor. And those were two things I really wanted to get better at least in terms of my interest in those subjects. And then there's a perfect program. And then, it was in LA. It's a beautiful city. It's really close to a ton of things. It's my little Oxy plug for anyone interested in going.
What city is it?
It's in Eagle Rock, which is right next to Pasadena. And it's about 35 minutes from the beach. And it's like, 10 minutes from downtown. So, LA is a huge city, but it's pretty much accessible, wherever you go. So yeah, I'm really excited I got to have that experience.
So it seemed like the thing that really sold you was kind of almost like the family type feel, where it was just like everyone was welcoming, and that was one of the reasons. Obviously, the majors you said was the other reason. The campus was nice, and you wanted to go away from home, but not like, you want to get away from home. Small liberal arts schools. I'm just like thinking out loud for the players that are maybe like looking at colleges. So what was some of the major decisions? Again, away from home, liberal arts school, had the majors you wanted, nice campus, very family-oriented soccer program. Anything else there?
All the benefits of a small program. So like, or a small school. So the class sizes, right? Like there were hardly any classes that were over 20 kids. Average was 14. I know I wanted to take my academic studies seriously. It was important to me. I knew, coming from Division III, like, 0.1%, 0.01% of players that play Division III actually make it to the pros. Matt, you're the example there. So yeah, I think that was big for me. It's just owning the academic experience. How about you with Santa Cruz and then Santa Clara? What drew you to those schools?
Oh man, Santa Cruz. The coach is Paul Holliker. He's now Academy Director, I believe, of Houston Dynamo. He was with San Jose Earthquakes, Academy Director, and then also with Cal Poly as a head coach since his time at Santa Cruz. And he was the most passionate coach I'd met at that point, and he was very hard recruiting me. Like I got recruited lightly from other schools, but like literally it was like calling me every day. Like literally, like just like, you're gonna build the program, you're gonna be the man, yada yada yada. And all these other schools, it was just kind of like, yeah, you can come in and play. That was one. Two, it was close to home. I wanted to be somewhat close to home. I knew I wanted to stay in California because I'm a fair weather person. And Santa Cruz was always like cool and chill. I thought it would be a fun experience. So anyway, that's another one. But good question.
Way back.
I know that's like a future interview when someone interviews me or something. Maybe you do that in the future.
I'll do it.
Yeah, you'd be good. I'm sure you'd be really good at that. Okay, so let's go into the soccer at Occidental. Obviously, that was your only experience, but how would you compare it to club? What would you say? Like for players, I know a lot of players, like they get stuck on, I want to play Division I. I want to play Division I. And again, like for those that don't know, like there are some very, very good Division III schools that can absolutely compete in Division I. They're just not in Division One. What would you say? Like, what was life like as a Division 3 soccer player, student athlete?
It's definitely different from Division One. I looked at some Division One schools. Obviously, with my mom and dad both played Division One sports. My dad coached Division One soccer, and the time commitment is just it's actually not all that different. I think it's the experiences you can have from a Division 3 standpoint. For me, the experiences you can have on top of the soccer experience. Obviously, in all totality, the level is not quite as high. Some places maybe, some places maybe not. Um, Team culture, I find, is a little more not more important, but it's a little more pertinent to the situation you're in that there's nobody with scholarships. Everybody's kind of coming from that same level playing field. So another thing was going abroad. So I was able to go to Argentina for a semester in the spring, right in our off season. Whereas I think in Division 1 institutions, they just expect more from you. So some people absolutely let their kids go. Their coaches say, "Hey, go have that experience." But most would probably say, "Hey, we want you here to develop because we only have you for 4 weeks in the spring, and we don't have you during the summer or the winter, right? And the season's so small, it's just high stakes." And so with Division 3, it's much less, I think, about like, you don't see coaches getting hired or fired mid-season or right at the end of a bad season. It's about the growth of the players as people, and then the soccer piece is a huge part. So it's definitely a high level, I think, compared to club, as you asked. Club, at least with force, was a lot more technical, a lot more. It's slower on the ground, and in Division 3, and I know Division 1 is the same way for the majority of places you go. It's much more physical, right? You have to get your physically, you have to be ready, especially if you want to come in and make an impact as a freshman. And then the speed of play is faster. There's more balls in the air. So it's not always the prettiest soccer. I think sometimes if you find the right program in the right place, absolutely it can be pretty and it can be good soccer. But there's certain times where you're playing up against a team on a bad field I'm sure on the East Coast where it's snowing during a game potentially. There's a lot of different things, but I really enjoyed the Division 3 model because it gave me that balance between soccer, academics, and life.
Cool. Obviously, the fall is going to be very similar between Division 3 and Division 1 because you're getting like 20 games in a 3-month time period. You have 1 day off a week probably, and you're just training constantly. I think the off season is the biggest difference. Can you describe what was the off season like for? Because obviously, like you went abroad, which is awesome. But what was the team doing then? What's the team doing in the winter and the spring? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the other three, I mean, you probably go abroad one semester, if you go at all. There's also options for having jobs or internships outside of that. A lot of other options, and yeah, with Division 3, it's largely up to the players. In the end of the day, it really comes down to the people you're around. So there's a lot of captains practices that go on. If you're with a good institution, if you're going to visit a school and you're junior, senior in high school, and you want to know how committed the soccer team is, that's important to you, it was important to me. Ask them what they do in the off season. Some people will dance around the questions. Some people will say it depends. I was really fortunate to be around a bunch of guys who really wanted to be there every day, and they wanted to get better every day. And we were able to make huge growth. Our junior year, we had the most wins in program history.
Very cool.
And a lot of that comes in this off season, right? In the off seasons, right after the fall, maybe you take some time off, and then the winter and the spring, a lot of it is up to the players, and it's not just the captains, it's not just the team leaders, it's got to be everyone because it's not mandatory. And I'm sure
So
some coaches try to
is
control.
it the whole winter and spring not mandatory from the
We have
players?
there's a 4 or 5 week window in the spring where coaches can coach, I believe, like 4 times a week, and then they get to play 1 or 2 scrimmages. But besides that time in the spring, and then that fall season, which lasts, mid-August, 2 weeks of preseason, to, if you're lucky, if you make it
Thanksgiving.
to the final, yeah, like December 4th is the final.
Yeah.
Um, everything from that December 4th or earlier, however early you get knocked out, to whenever you start, whether it's February, March, it's all on the players. And sometimes you're at school, sometimes you're at home. And in the summers as well, that's why we have the peer performance program right now with the college guys. We get them ready for their seasons. We get them playing, because a lot of times it's really hard to find a place to play when you have a job and stuff. All that stuff is up to the player, and it really is an individual choice. And I was fortunate to be around a lot of guys that knew what they were doing and really were committed.
No, I think that's huge. That's a huge point about like finding the commitment level of the team. So when you're going to a program, you know what to expect. So if somebody that's like all about soccer and want to train constantly, and the team doesn't train in the off season, maybe that's not going to be a good fit. Okay, this is going to be like might be a tough question, but okay. So it sounded like your group at Occidental was like committed. They wanted to work. They wanted to get better. They wanted to improve. Would you say that's pretty?
Oh,
I mean, in general,
that
that's
was
not
the
the question.
question.
That's a question.
Okay.
That's not the question I'm getting to. But I'm just
Wasn't rhetorical.
is that pretty accurate?
Yeah. I think there's times where it comes up and down a little bit. I think the years where we did the best were the years where that off season was just like very clean, very consistent. We were working on the right things. We weren't just going out there and smacking balls to each other or shooting on goal. It's like you're getting in a real practice. There's a real plan beforehand, and I think it can totally come from younger guys too. So we had our best year my junior season 2 years ago. And the season before that, we had a great senior class. A lot went abroad. There was one that transferred early on in like their freshman sophomore year, and so we had like 3 guys to lead. We had some sophomores that were great, that really stepped up and really pushed people. So when you're younger, I would say if you're going into your first year, second year, a lot of times there's a lot of older players that want that leadership, right? They want to be able to make the decisions and do this and that. But keep them honest, question them, right? So like I was fortunate enough to be one of our captains my senior year, but in my mind, that has nothing to do with what we're doing in the off season, right? What we're doing on the field. It has to do with like that's my specific role and position, and it's not to tell people what to do. No, it should never be to that. Maybe to focus up or to get in line, but that's everyone's job. And so, as a freshman and sophomore, if you want to push the envelope for your program, you need to be able to make those hard decisions, have those uncomfortable conversations where you say, hey, I don't think we're doing enough. Or, hey, we're just running into the ground. Maybe, can we get more touches? There's a lot of disagreements that happen because there's no coach to oversee it, right? You don't have your king making the decisions. You have to be pretty democratic. And so I think we had a really good group, which totally helped that situation. And then there were guys above and beneath me who wanted to push everyone else.
Okay, this is the question I was getting at. So you even just talked about how so few Division III players go play professionally. What's the purpose for the guys that are at Occidental to be working in the offseason, to put work in? I think this is a question that a little broader, we think a little bit broader terms. For instance, like I have some parents that are like, oh, if my kid's not going to like be able to play Division I college soccer, I don't understand the point why they're playing soccer. Like I feel it's a little bit different but similar. It's like, what's the purpose of playing if you're not, you're going to be pro, you're going to be making a living off of it? Like, can you answer maybe both those? Because we've talked a little bit about it, but I'm curious, like, what the mindset was, Mogility Mindset.
Yeah,
what the mindset was.
We're working on it.
Yeah, I know. Of the group.
It's huge. I mean, that's a huge question because there's a lot of people that burn out throughout their time in Division III because they don't see the things that they thought they would see. And there's a lot of people that choose Division I, end up coming back to Division III and love it. For me, it means, Division III is what you want to make of it, period. Like it is what you want to make of it. So when you choose a school and you do these things, it needs to be intentional. That's what you're going to get out of it. So Division I, even for example, how many players actually go pro? Like we talked about, like maybe 30 a year, 15 a year make it on an MLS team, and then there's probably another group that make a USL team or go overseas or something like that. And I think soccer, if it's meant to, even then those players, their first year, they're making, 60, 70K, or less, usually a lot less.
Yeah.
And that's the top of the top. And I had always wanted to play at the highest level I could, and wanted to do this and that. And it's important. But I think in the end of the day, you have to realize, like, you have a specific experience. You have a love for the game, and you face this dilemma. A lot of players face that dilemma, right? Where they say, I could grind it out at a Division I institution and work my hardest, and hopefully gain a starting spot, hit my growth spurt at the right time, blah, 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 all these things. And then they get to that point, and a lot of people don't make it. A few people do. Division III, I think, is an incredible model because, as I said, it's what you make of it. So if you want to have an experience, then make relationships with people that care just like you do, right? Be on a team of people who are committed. So soccer for me has taught me so much. For example, with Coach Lawfrey or Rod at Oxy, we have I want to say now it's up to 46 pages of a culture packet that we have to study before we get to the preseason, because culture is that important to us and what we do. And it's grown over time ever since, I started. And before that, I'm sure, culture is important to us. So for us, it's learning how to be a man, how to be the man that can do it all in some ways, right? How do you learn life lessons within this, right? So we're working on the Mogility Mindset. It's a huge part of the game, but it's also a huge part of life. Understanding what you can do to better yourself, be happier, to get more out of yourself. It's huge. And I think from soccer, I've learned more from soccer than any of the classes I've taken. And I've taken some great classes with some, world-renowned professors. But in the end of the day, soccer has so many life lessons and so many skills that can teach you how to do things. It can be constructive. It can show you where you're doing things incorrectly, whether it's on a person-to-person basis, whether it's a certain skill or certain piece of the game. I think it's huge. So the Division III model is based on that. It's what you make of it.
Good answer. So for those that don't know, well, I don't even know if we said this in the beginning. Ben is now an employee of Mogility. He's officially in business development. And basically, we're just all about just helping people through soccer, helping people, reach their potential. I mean, we just want to expand to help people in all the ways we can, and then reach more people. And then one thing we've been talking about for a while now is, I think this kind of relates to everything, is Mogility Mindset, right? We have the trainings that are super high level, that I like to think I haven't seen any higher level, more detail-oriented trainings that relate specifically to the game, that's applicable to the game, because that's ultimately what we want you to improve, not just, be good at juggling or be good at dribbling through columns, but actually stuff that relates to the game. We talk about this a lot. But then that mindset piece is huge. So we're working on it right now, and super excited about that when we get it up. But yeah, that's a good piece. What would you say to parents? What would you say to parents that maybe have a kid that's on a second or third team, and they're working hard, but they're not of the level of that top team player? And the parents getting frustrated. It's like, why am I, this is a big thing I hear, right? I've been around youth soccer a lot. Like, why am I spending all this money and time if, they're on the second or third team? Why am I spending all this money and time to stay on a second team at a club when I can go to another club and be on a top team? So what would you tell parents like that based on your experience with youth soccer?
Well, I'd say, again, I think it needs to come from the kid. So, the kid has to be motivated. It's all up to the kid. It really should be, is how far do they want to take it? And you can encourage them. You can give them the tools they need to succeed. You can give them the option. That's great, right? If you can do that, a lot of parents can't do that. But it has to come from the kid first and foremost. But I would say, if you're looking at how players develop, I think there's a lot of different ways you can go. One of the reasons I really like Mogility, right, is because I got to train under you for 4 years about.
Like that.
And then I've got to see you and your coaching style much longer than that. And one of the things I've learned from that time is that, when you get into a team session, right, a lot of times it's focused on playing, which is huge. And there's a lot of aspects to the game, right? So you can understand the tactical, right, or where you are in the field. You can understand the tactical part of the game. what types of passes to make, what types of movements to make, defensive shape, pressure, all these things. But if you're not technical, you're not really gonna be very good.
Yeah.
If you're not mentally fit, you're not really gonna be able to get through the hard times or stay humble in the times where you're up here. And then, yeah, so I think you go through, the physical side too. You need to be able to develop yourself physically because you need to compete athletically with people, right? You need to have a fitness level that works. And it gets more and more important as you get older to hone in on all these different pieces. But with Mogility, I think that it's something I wish I had done in high school is you get an extra session, 2 sessions or more a week of touches and specific things you're doing. So I think for a player that's maybe says, I can't make this first team, or I've hit a lull in my training, it's all going to be in the details. And so I like Mogility because you know the details, and it's hard to just learn like you can be out on a field for days and days and days and not learn the important details. You need to have somebody who really understands the situational piece. You've hired a lot of really good coaches from college, semi-pro, pro, who are really good at understanding that piece, and you've taught them really well. So I think that's something I would have done if I were in that situation, or even when I was on a first team, because you can always get better. And yes, there's other options too. You can change clubs, you can find different competition, right? But individual training is a huge component that can be put on top of that, which can take you, sky's the limit from there.
Well,
And
I'm not gonna disagree.
I know, sorry, it's too much of a plug for Mogility.
I know.
But the other thing is the mental piece, and Matt, you and I have talked about this a lot. The mental piece is just as big of a part as any other piece. And I think that's one of the things that sports has glossed over for the past ever.
I know.
It's just like you're either tough or you're not. It's like you can get through it or you can't. But now we're seeing all of these different things and all of these different ways of approaching sports psych. And I think that's the biggest part of the game that's coming up, right? And
the future.
It'll never change. Yeah, you need to be technical. You need to have a tactical understanding, right? You need to be physically, you need to be able to compete. And sometimes you'll catch up late or early, but you need to have some sort of physical presence. And then the mental piece is going to be the big piece, I think, that's going to help kids, not just as soccer players, but as people.
Agreed. Mogility Mindset coming soon. Anything else you want to add before we open up to questions?
Just thank you for having me on, and I hope people see the value in Mogility, because it's something I didn't see when I was younger. White wasn't quite as built out yet, and I had played basketball, so I was a 2-sport athlete, which is another way that a lot of people go, and I totally support that too. But having these extra sessions, having the specificity of the game involved, if you want to be a high level player, and you want to learn the most critical parts of the game, like that's the way to go. So I'm sorry for continuing to plug.
All good. No, I mean this is why I started, because I wish I had it as a kid. Like and the thing is, like, I didn't realize I wish I had it until I was a kid, until I played pro, and then I started learning all these details and like understanding the game at a higher level, where I'm like, why didn't I learn this stuff when I was like developing? I'd be so much better now.
And the game moves slower. Like everything moves
absolutely.
slower. When you understand the game, and when you understand like your technical ability well, and you're confident in yourself, like you just take off from there. And it takes a lot of hard work and consistency, and it's not always easy. But if you have the right tools and the right mentorship, like there's really nothing you can't get to.
Agreed. Cool. I'm gonna open up to questions. Sometimes it's a little lagged, so we'll ignore with the hard eyes. Let's keep it yeah. Any sort of questions to Ben, to me, about maybe mentality? I think I'd really like to hear maybe any questions that are people interested in Division 3. So any questions you have specifically about Division 3. I thought it was really interesting because like I was only at Division 3 for 1 year, and also another thing too, everything we're saying, it's constantly evolving and changing. Like the rules for what you can and can't do in the off season is always changing. So make sure you're like talking to your coach and make sure you know what you're getting into, because who knows, in like 2 years, maybe D3, it's like, oh yeah, we have a 12-week off season and we have 4 trains a week for 12 weeks or something. So that would be something that's good to know. So again, anyone that has any questions, feel free to shoot them.
The good ones, the bad ones.
Yeah, whatever.
And I thought Wu's interview, by the way, too. You talked about a little bit about Division III soccer. Tufts is the best program that, soccer wise that there has been, probably since Messiah
Yeah,
in the early 2000s,
that's
and
when we lost
they've
to
won.
Messiah. That's actually we lost in the finals. They were like after like that year they beat us. I think they won like 60 games in a row. That like they started the trend, and yeah, it wasn't a good game. We got destroyed. But anyway.
Yeah, regardless, yeah, I think he had some good perspective. I remember watching his piece, and I think these high level programs are just, you have to look at them no matter what type of player you are. If you're a top Division I player, like check it out, because they're doing some really cool things. I got to visit Tufts as well, and yeah, the coaching side, they have a new coach now, but a lot of these places, a lot of the NESCAC schools, a lot of the SCIAC schools, Jake's over at Trinity, my brother Jake in San Antonio, a lot of really good programs, and I think you need to give them all a try and check them out if you want to play at a really high level.
Again, if someone popped on, anyone that has any questions, feel free to shoot them. Trinity, how did Trinity do recently? How have they done recently? Because they were
They're
big
good.
time 15 years ago. Not
That's
to
right.
age
They've got a
myself.
star, and that's it gets more and more every time, just somehow. But
Maybe like 14 years ago, but yeah. Yeah,
just
they
a
do have a
wild
star in
one.
Simon. They have a
That's
big,
right.
wait, no, you tell me. You know more than me.
Well, it's been great watching them now, because I'll watch their stuff online. I mean, great campus, great program. Coach McGinley's over there. He's been over there for 30 something years, and yeah, I think it's an incredible thing they've done. They've kind of got the ball turning where it just becomes this powerhouse year after year. So they make the tournament almost every year, and then they're a great team. They're very deep. I think they roll like 40 something deep, and they
That's
play
crazy.
like 30 something players a game, and or 20 something players a game, and but they're rostering a ton of people, and there are a lot of really good players. So a lot of credit to Coach McGinley out there, and yeah, they're definitely a program you got to check out if you're good with going to old Texas.
San Antonio's chill. They got the Riverwalk. We had our
They do.
not the Final Four, but the Sweet 16 when I was at Santa Cruz. It was hosted, maybe not at Trinity, but in San Antonio. What was I gonna say about Trinity? How long? So they have how many kids on the team? 40 something, 30
They
something.
have a lot of kids. It's a really competitive program, and I know it was a little intimidating for Jake at first. He's found his spot, and I'm really thankful for that. But yeah, they have a big program. We're heading down to drive down to San Antonio right in a week or two. So he's going to go live down there and then take classes remotely with his friends, and then finish out his degree. Maybe add, a major or a minor in this time. I know it's a really tough time for. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that at all, but for people going into college, it's you know that's a whole different conversation.
It
But
is.
there's a lot of different ways. We worked with a lot of college players this summer who have a lot of different things, from staying at home to going back to school and taking their classes online. Some still have, surprising. NCAA just canceled, but a lot of sports, I think maybe all fall sports, but some are still set to go for preseason. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's
Yeah,
Christian
it's
down there,
very
by the
up
way.
in the air. I know, Christian. Anyone that has any questions again for Ben about Division III college? I see a couple of guys that I know, like high school age. I know also though, if you didn't hear me say that, then you probably missed it. Have you ever played against your brother? When's the last time you played against your brother?
We played together, so we were on the summer team. Right in the past, we played in men's leagues, so we play in the midfield together. He likes to be a low lying six. I like to be more of an active kind of box to box eight. And so
Yeah.
it's actually, we've learned to play together a lot. I was, in your system, I was more of a low lying six.
Yep.
But I was able to kind of catch my growth spurt in my senior year of high school, freshman year of college, and I'm able to do a little more now than I was. But yeah, it's been great, because I think we like to play together. We haven't played against, at least we almost did. So we lost in the final to Chapman, which it pains me to say. We had a great season my junior year. We lost at home. We had a few thousand fans out to the game. It was a great atmosphere under the lights, and we lost 1-0. It was tough. We kind of battered a bunch of shots in at the end, and none went out, none went through the net. But with that, Chapman ended up going to the first round to San Antonio to play Trinity, and so that would have been us. We would have gotten to play each other.
Who won that game? Do you know? What was the final Chapman Trinity?
Trinity 4-0 Trinity. I remember that one pretty well.
Wow.
And so I think we would have had we lined up against them well. You look at the different formations they play with wing backs that just go. Very active team. They just go 100 miles an hour at your throat for 90 minutes. And we played a really nice 4-3-3 that year. We had one of the top goal scorers in the country, Liam Walsh, who was the MVP of our league that last year. He scored, I think, 18 goals, something like that, in 18 games. And we just had a great team overall. We were really deep. No injuries going into that last, this last run. And, we just came up a little short. And then this season, too, Oxy's going to Chapman. Or Oxy's going to Trinity.
Oh, man.
They were. Yeah, so I was going to go out there, take a few days off and just go watch. But it would have been great if it was a year earlier. I always give my coach a hard time for that one.
Dang. Well, next time. Well, yeah, that's going to – yeah. Anyway, do you see the question? So, Occidental. What were the main things that you enjoyed so much about it?
I think for one is just the character of the guys. So, whatever school you go to, the people you're around, the most of them, you're going to be around them for 2-3 years. And, the people you're going to probably be closest to are the people in your grade, which you don't know as well. Some people go together on different trips and things like that, which is a fun way to do it too. But yeah, I think the culture at Oxy specifically, it's just all about having the right people with the right mindset all the time. So, when it's soccer season and in the off season, we work really hard. We know how to have fun too. We have one of the best group of guys to be around ever. Whether it's the stuff we do off campus, we'll hit the beach once in a while, things like that. But whether it's before games, you have the music pumping, or dancing around, or we have a new chant that our assistant Brian Wright is incredible coach. He put in with the LAFC, the sha la 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 la.
Okay,
so,
but he made it for Occidental.
That's right. So we say Oxy soccer instead, and it's just a ton of fun to be around the guys every day. And in the lows too, they pick you up, and they, in life. It's just so much deeper than I can even explain. It's so much deeper than just a program for soccer. Soccer is our meat for how we connect and how we do things, and we share that passion. But it's really is a family in the end of the day. And just super thankful to have been a part of it. I really wouldn't have chosen another place.
Got it. So it's all about the people, especially the people on your team and in your grade. Do you see the next question about someone that wants to play in college? What's the key, would you say? What should they focus on? Somebody that really wants to play in college, play college soccer, what would you say? Most important things. Did you get that?
Thanks to Xander for that last one. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Xander.
Yeah.
Yes. Number one tip for a young kid looking to someday play in college, I think, is to love and to just be super happy being on the field and find that naturally. Find friends that you like, find a team that you like, and I think do everything you can to develop. But the first thing, it's got to be fun and it's interesting. You can grind away for years, and it can be a big mistake because it's something that you didn't want, that you forced yourself to want. But if you really want it and you say, hey, I enjoy this game, and you go out there, I think the next step is to make sure you do the right things with the right team environment, right? Be on the right team. Do things like Mogility, do extra trainings, to make sure that you're involved with the game as much as possible too. I've been lucky enough to be, around a lot of different coaches in my life, and that's helped spur my love and my knowledge for the game. Help out, at camps, things like that. I think there's so many different things you can do. Just get involved with the game and get a lot of touches, be out there with your friends, and just everything else though, like you can put aside, you have to enjoy it and be out there every day to enjoy it. So yeah, it's a good question.
I love it. I think we're in on that. Like, yeah, first and foremost, you gotta love it. You gotta love the game. You gotta love the atmosphere. You gotta love training. You gotta love everything, because then it makes everything else so much easier and more enjoyable. Cool. Well, Ben, thank you very much. I appreciate this. You've been on staff for a little bit less than a week. This is like your initiation. You passed.
Sure.
Super looking forward to the future, and getting that Mogility mindset rolling. And we have a lot of other exciting things heading everyone's way. So thanks again. Tell the folks and your brother hi for me, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'm sure they'll see you soon. Yep. Thanks so much.
Yep. Sounds good. Take care. Talk to you later.